people together to get that done. All right, I guess we're starting. Okay. All right, good. Okay. We're starting, right, Anastasia? We can't see your screen. Okay. All right, good. So welcome everybody to the studio's actually first webinar. We're calling it Tea with the Factory. And the reason why we call it Tea with the Factory is when I first started the studio, I used to have tea with the different factories to like learn about their manufacturing processes and just kind of really get to better know the factory owners. And so today what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about how to build a lifestyle brand with headwear. So we're going to like go really deep into details about what is building a lifestyle brand, and why headwear is an important part of that. And we have a special guest with us today, Josh Mendenhall, who is the CEO and founder of Spilt. He's one of our customers, and it's a really cool brand. So we'll dive into that in a bit. Okay, so yeah, so basically the first thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of do a deep dive into Spilt and talk about the brand that Josh is building. We're going to talk about why building a lifestyle brand is important. We're going to talk about the power of lifestyle brands, why headwear matters for building a lifestyle brand. We're going to talk about some case studies, and then we're going to do a deep dive into the manufacturing processes around making a cap. So welcome to our first webinar, Josh. We're going to actually get things started with showing a video about Spilt. I think the video just really captures the essence of the brand. And I think the thing that I'd like to say about Spilt is that we work with a lot of brands, and it's very rare that you actually see a brand that has the potential to be like the next Nike or Red Bull. And the reason I say that is like everything about the brand is so thoughtful. I mean, look at Josh's background, and like every detail really represents the brand. So thank you, Josh, for joining us today. And maybe you could quickly say hi, and then we'll get into your video.
Yeah, hey, super excited to be here. I love this stuff. I've actually, and Joseph doesn't know this, but I've used the studio for probably the last, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years through different companies that I've worked with. So I'm pumped to be on here.
Awesome. Thank you, Josh. So let's get started with the video that introduces Spilt. We can't hear the sound.
Right.
No, still no.
Growing up is on the
Okay, there we go. Yeah, that's good now.
rise nationwide. People are growing up now more than ever before. That's why we created Spilt Academy. Spilt instructors are trained to recognize the warning signs of growing up. Upon arrival, students are assessed to measure their lack of enthusiasm. We begin with activities from their youth, such as toilet papering and ding-dong ditching.
You got a ditch.
Which push our students to the limits of their adolescent spirit.
No, I can't. Welcome to Wet Willy 101. 1, 2. And that is how you perform a proper Wet Willy.
But there's hope. Designed by leading experts, our methods have proven effective in revitalizing even the most routine-bound adults. Our approach is simple, yet transformative. Through a combination of innovative techniques and hands-on experiences, we remind our students that youth is simply a state of mind. you or someone you love has grown up, it's never too late. Enroll today at Spilt Academy.
Okay, quick little caveat. If you guys go watch it on YouTube, there is music. I think it's probably just that noise reduction kind of background, so you hear no music. It was kind of a little awkward, but go check it out on YouTube. Fun video.
Yeah, definitely check it out. But I think you guys can see from the video, I think it really represents the brand. And as I said, like the thing that impresses me about Spilt is they're so thoughtful about every little detail. And I think that's the hallmark of building a world-class lifestyle brand. Like if you even saw like one of the banners says like Chug Academy or something like that. And just that attention to detail, I think is awesome. So Josh, welcome to the webinar. What inspired you to start Spilt, and what's your background?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, my background is in creative marketing. I've worked with brands like Pop Sockets, Pandora Jewelry, North Face, Sorel, Black Diamond, um, on the creative side. And what I really wanted to do is when I was doing that, when I was working with those brands, I kind of felt like I wanted to create my own brand. I loved helping build those brands, doing the creative behind it, whether it was photography, video, or 3D. Um, Super fun to do. So I've always had this passion for like building a brand. Why Spilt? Because dude, I freaking love chocolate milk. And you're gonna have to go back and you're gonna have to watch that video. Everyone's gonna have to go check that out on YouTube. Because how we talk about chocolate milk is, you know, I'm a little older and I still drink it all the time, and I'm not the only one. I remember the first time I got that like a can of chocolate milk that I made that was caffeinated, because that's what Spilt is. It's a caffeinated chocolate milk with 20 grams of protein, zero sugar, lactose free, 90 calories. So it checks all the boxes from like a macros perspective of like for an adult, but it's something that tastes really good. And I remember, like I said, like I remember getting the first can and like, seriously, dude, I like almost cried. I was like, this is so cool. And it was so fun that I was able to create something like that. But the idea really came from my love for chocolate milk. Like every morning I was drinking like a 20, a 20-gram protein chocolate milk. And I had a little caffeine drink right next to it. And I was like, man, I gotta make this into something. So working with a lot of brands, and then this passion that I have, and this also kind of the mindset that I have of, like, and we say a line in here, we say, like youth is just a state of mind. Um, and I believe it. And so that's what we're trying to, that's what we're trying to preach is it's okay to be old and drink chocolate milk and go out and do crazy stuff.
That's awesome. And there's a lot of protein brands out there. Like this is kind of like the intersection between protein brand and energy drink. So what did you see missing in the market that gave you the confidence to launch this? Because it is a very competitive space.
Yeah, there's a ton of protein drinks out there. But the thing that I mean, none of them are great. And if they are great, they have 30 grams of sugar in them. And that's not what I needed. So I wanted the first thing, like what we are first is a chocolate milk company. Second, I would say, we're a protein company. And third, we're an energy drink company. It doesn't have a ton of caffeine. I wanted to make something that would really, I'd feel comfortable with my kids drinking. They were coming home, I have teenagers and they're coming home with like monsters, these 200 milligrams of caffeine. And I'm like, oh, I don't love that. And so this only has 60 milligrams. So it's kind of like drinking a cup of coffee. It's not gonna get anyone too super crazy, but and it's good for you. It's like literally it's milk. Um, and it's got that protein in it. So where I found like the thing like why this would work, it tastes good and it checks the boxes on all the macros, especially for a chocolate milk. Like people drink it and they turn the can around like almost every time, and they're just like, "What the heck is in this?" And they read the label, and they're like, "This is amazing." But what they say after they drink it, like that's their reaction. This first thing they turn the can around, this, and they're just like, "Man, this is an amazing drink." But then they say like, "This reminds me of when I was a kid. This
Huh.
reminds me of the milk I used to drink." And so that's why we've really leaned into this kind of um, this, youth is just a state of mind. Don't grow up, it's a trap. Um, because it reminds people of their youth.
Yeah. And what's kind of like your ideal customer for Spill?
Um, I would say it's people who have an active lifestyle. Ages 18 to 34 is like our major demo, but we have a lot of people, a lot of older people who just love this stuff. Their doctors are telling them every single time they go in, like, you need more protein. And this is really good protein. And it's not like you're like eating a steak for breakfast and lunch and dinner. It's like you can get 20 grams and not even notice it. Like you can't notice it's not chalky. It doesn't leave you like heavy. And so there's like this older generation that actually loves this drink because of that. But who we talk to usually is like the 18 to 34. Their tone and how we talk is a lot younger. We talk as if we're 16, 15, 16-year olds. But it's all very intentional in how we talk. So it's not rude. Like we have pretty strict guidelines, brand guidelines on how we speak, visuals, all of those different things.
Yeah. Yeah. And when I think about it, there's a lot of protein brands on the market, but like none of them like really tell a story. Like, and that's what I'm so impressed with about Spilt is like when I first heard about the brand, like I couldn't forget it. So maybe kind of talk about like what convinced you that kind of building this brand around Spilt was so important because I think a lot of people just like focus on how many grams of protein are in the drink. But what happens is you don't remember the brand. But I think Spilt is just like very memorable.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot too. We talk about how we're building a brand and not just selling a commodity. Like you just said it. There's so many protein brands out there, but there's nothing that makes them stick besides the features of them, like the 20 grams of protein. But if you want something to stick, something that I've kind of learned and experimented with and seen with bigger brands that I've worked with, is it's not always just about the features. It's not always about, in this case, the 20 grams of protein or the 90 calories or the lactose free. It's about the feeling, like when people drink it, when they say that thing, they're like, man, this is freaking good. And it reminds me of when I was younger. All of a sudden you start leaning into that as your brand, and it's memorable. People want to associate themselves with it because it's cool. They want to share it with other people. And that's how in my opinion, like that's really how you get momentum from a brand instead of just focusing on the product itself and the features of it. We're trying to focus more on the emotion and the benefits. Obviously, there's a lot of benefits to having protein. Like you're going to get up, you're going to have more energy. The thing that's super interesting about like caffeine and protein is like this caffeine will help you get more energy quick, but if there's no protein, you just crash. That's why people talk about like that caffeine crash. So anytime anyone consumes caffeine, they should be having some sort of protein. And so it's giving you that energy, and the idea behind it is the energy that you need to feel like you felt when you were younger, to do the crazy things that you used to do. To get out there when you get home from work, you're just not going and sitting on the couch and you know scrolling through or checking Netflix. It's getting out there and like living your best life like you used to when you were younger. And that's the idea of the brand. It's not about the 20 grams of protein. It's not about the lactose free and it's how much caffeine. It's about what it does for you. And that's how we try to create this brand. And there's a lot of, like
Yeah.
you said, there's a lot of details that go into it. Um, and from the packaging to the video stuff that we do a lot of cool video. Almost all those people in that video are some sort of YouTube influencer or Instagram creator with millions of subscribers on YouTube. We have Steven Shapiro, we have Juan Gonzalez, that was epic. We have Badlands Chugs. We have the professor. We have Bryce, she was on the Olympic skateboard uh, for U.S. team this last year, which was so awesome. But that's the idea is
Wow.
all people are living their best life, and that's the intentionality behind it.
Yeah, super cool. And like one thing that I'm thinking about, like if I wanted, like, what was the process of being so intentional? Like, did you like spend 6 months like scoping everything out? Did you just kind of like improvise as you went? Like, what's kind of the behind the scenes to just kind of execute on this consistent brand experience?
Um, I again, like I said, I love chocolate milk, and when I go into like a convenience store or whatever, and I grab a chocolate milk, um, I always felt like I was a little out of place because I'm 45 years old and I'm like grabbing like a kid's drink, but I love it, and so that was always there. Like I always knew what we wanted, how we wanted to communicate this, and we're definitely refining. We're getting way better at how this message is clear. So it's kind of been on the fly, but we've always had this idea and this kind of concept that we wanted to it's about age and not feeling old. And that's what the drink's doing for you. So we've always had that kind of like that North Star, and now we're refining that message even more and more.
Right. And like tactically, what does that look like? Like, is there like a brand document that you're always revising? How frequently do you revise it? Like tactically, how do you kind of execute on that?
Yeah. We have brand guidelines, like I said, from the visuals to the tone and how we speak to verbiage that we use. Um, we look at like a lot of it's actually a really hard thing to do to speak like a 16-year-old without sounding cringy because you can actually be super cringy if someone can read through it and they're be like, man, the guy on the other side of the screen is actually 45. That's super lame that he's trying to do this thing. And so it's actually, I feel like it's pretty hard, but it's something that we're always going back to. We try new things. We actually try a lot of new things on different social media platforms, see what sticks, see what people like. And if it resonates, then we kind of like implement that into those brand guidelines.
Yeah, you're so right because like I could see how this could be cringy, but it's not at all.
Yeah.
Was there anything that you did that you're like, that was a little bit cringy and kind of learn from
Oh, dude.
that?
Oh, so many things. Yeah, so many things. Like we had this idea with this Dumb and Dumber campaign. We call it Yum and Yummer. And in my mind, it was so funny, and it took me back to like watching that video, that film, and something that I loved. And when we did it, it didn't translate in the same way. And even had people be like, "This does not feel right. This does not feel right." And I'm like, "Okay, good. Well, it didn't feel right for me. Glad it doesn't feel right for you." So there's been things that we've missed on for sure.
Okay, cool. And one thing that I just kind of think is super cool and relates to the studio is how you've thought about merchandise to
Yeah.
kind of sit alongside the Spilt brand. What's your vision for the merchandise and like, yeah, like why did you decide so early on that that was important?
Well, again, if you're selling a brand or you're building a brand, and especially a lifestyle brand, it's got to show up more than one place than it can that people are drinking. Like the idea is, I want people to be pumped about this logo. I want it on motorcycle helmets. I want it on the bottom of snow, like a snowboard. Like we see it like Winter X Games. That's like a dream. Like you see um, some of these guys doing the snowboard cross. I think that they brought that back this last year, which I love. But seeing the logo on the bottom of like a Spilt logo on the bottom of a board would be awesome. But that's what creates a lifestyle brand is when they're bought in. They're part of it because now they want to rep it on their bumper or on their a shirt that they're wearing. It's more than just a chocolate milk product. It's this brand that they want to be part of.
Yeah. I don't know if the audience can see, but there's a really cool like cooler and scooter with the
Yeah.
Spilt logo on it. And I think that just really personifies the brand. What is that thing for anyway? What is it?
Well, yeah, actually, we drive it around. It's a cooler that, fits, I think about 60 or 70 cans in. We show up to different events with it cold, and that thing, it rips, man. It's not like this, like a grandma scooter. This thing goes like very fast. It's a little bit scary, but we show up to events with it. Last summer, we were at a lot of different golf tournaments, just passing out Spilt to these golfers, and they kept every time they saw it, they'd be like, "Hey, hey, like come on over here." And it's super fun, especially when you've had people who have tried it before, they've seen you before, and they're starting to understand what the Spilt brand is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's just one of the many examples of just like a small detail. Like that vehicle just looks like it was made custom for Spill.
Yeah.
Um, why is building a lifestyle brand so important today?
I think it's the only way a brand will survive. If not, your commodity, someone comes in. So like we have 20 grams of protein in our drink. If someone's if we don't have the most protein, that's not the goal. Like someone can outdo us in the protein, or they can outdo us in some of the other macros, and that's always going to be the case. I actually don't think there's anything out there that tastes better than ours. So that one's kind of going to be a hard one for someone to beat. But the other macros, like they can beat it. But if it becomes part of their routine, and they're proud to hold the can, and they're proud to wear the shirt, um, then all of a sudden that's where you're going to be around for a while. And like a CPG brand like Spilt, it's not fly by night. These things aren't 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. They take a long time. So for us to really um, survive, we have to build a brand. It can't just be building a product.
Yeah. I think that's totally right. Like if you're not building a lifestyle brand, it's a commodity and you're basically it's just a race to the bottom. Like you
Totally.
said, someone's gonna be cheaper, someone's gonna have better distribution, but like you just can't copy a brand like Spill.
Yeah, and I mean, even like the slide before this, I mean that's a shirt that we're doing with you guys, and this isn't a shirt that we sell, but it says dairy dealer on there. It's a little bit edgy. It's kind of like this, what's a dealer, kind of thinking kind of drug dealer kind of thing. But we put the spin on it where it's dairy dealer. And people literally will ask, they'll be like, what the heck is a dairy dealer? So there it starts a conversation. But this piece of apparel is meant for the people who are going out and delivering Spilt, all of our distribution. So they'll get stopped, they'll get asked, but these are the people who are actually dealing the dairy for us. And so that's kind of this idea, and not just putting Spilt massive, I think it's something that if you can create a conversation around it, great. Is there something? I mean, obviously on this shirt it does say Spilt, so it's Spilt branded, but it's kind of teeny tiny because we actually want the conversation to happen 1v1 face to face when someone's asking, like, what the heck is a dairy dealer?
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. And like if someone were to like want to turn their brand into a lifestyle brand, how should they get started?
Yeesh. Okay, I would just say from like if we're just talking apparel, like if someone wears your t-shirt and they're wearing it to mow the lawn or go to bed, you haven't done it. Like you want them to pick this thing up and wear it out to dinner. And they can do it even if it's like a product based brand, like a CPG brand. Like you see people wearing Monster hats all the time, Rockstar hats all the time. I mean, it's like an honor to wear a Red Bull helmet, right? And those are all just drinks, but people want to rep it. And so you have to think more than just the product. You have to have a story behind the product, and get emotional. It doesn't, and when I say emotional, it doesn't have to be like sad, but like some sort of emotion. And what we're doing is we're reminding people of what it felt like. So it's actually a very it's a great emotion to have, is to remember that nostalgia. Um, but think about it that way. And again, I always tell people, like, if you're just putting a big old logo on something, it's going to be worn to bed, or it's going to be worn while someone's mowing the lawn. And that's not the goal of it. The goal is, like, I want people to be like, what the heck is that shirt? What brand is that? And start that conversation.
Yeah, that's great advice. So a little bit later in this show, we'll actually show some more merchandise that Spilt has developed. But Josh, thank you very much for kind of telling us about your brand story. I legit could see, this brand being acquired for a few $billion in the future. I think it has the DNA of like truly creating like the next Red Bull. So we're super excited to continue partnering with you, Josh. Thank you for your business, and
Yeah,
yeah,
always.
I think definitely check out the YouTube video. It's super cool.
Cool.
Thanks,
Thanks. Thanks.
Josh.
Thanks, man.
Okay, so we're going to continue now, just kind of talking about kind of headwear and why it's important in building a lifestyle brand. And there's obviously different ways you can go about building a lifestyle brand, but headwear is always a good part of it. Josh has done some headwear with us, and basically it's just wearable identity, and it makes it very clear that the person is part of the tribe. Like they're literally wearing it on their head. So, headwear is like just a great way to get started when you're trying to build a lifestyle brand. And we'll kind of go through, obviously, Spilt has used headwear, but a few other companies that have used headwear to build their brand. One is Harley Davidson. So Harley has obviously they're known for their motorcycles, but again, as Josh said, when you're building a lifestyle brand, it's not about, saying that the bike has 80 cc's or whatever. Like no one's going to remember that, but what people do remember is how the brand made you feel. And that's why, like, the importance of building a lifestyle brand is you get higher profit margins. You're really able to resonate with your customer, and in a way that you just can't do when you don't have a lifestyle brand. So clearly, Harley has done a really good job of selling this idea of freedom, this kind of very Americana type of brand. Again, you don't, when you think Harley Davidson, you think motorcycle, but you think freedom, you think America. And headwear has been a very big part of their strategy. Here goes some of their headwear that they've done with New Era. They also did kind of like some more classic kind of Harley with leather, like leather and metal. And this is also a kind of close to headwear, but like bandanas and stuff like that. So the Harley brand is definitely very associated with headwear. So the next brand that we're going to talk about is Blue Bottle. They've taken a totally different approach with headwear and just becoming a lifestyle brand. They are kind of conveying this idea of craftsmanship, of mindfulness. It's a brand that's like has this kind of like very kind of like organic feel to it. And again, they use kind of headwear. They're obviously a lot more minimalist with their headwear. They just kind of have the little blue bottle embroidered onto the cap, but it's kind of very thoughtful pieces with headwear. Okay, and then the last brand that we're going to talk about is Lululemon. And Lululemon also has built a lifestyle brand. Again, when you think Lululemon, you think yoga, you think fitness, you think nutrition, and headwear is a big part of the Lululemon brand. Okay, now these are some pieces that we did for Josh. This is the headwear that we did for him. And the thing that's really, I guess we have a quick little video that shows the cap. Okay. And so the thing is, so first of all, as I said, Spilt and Josh are just super, super thoughtful about everything. And you can really see that in their headwear. And by the way, this is why it's so important to do custom manufacturing and to manufacture the cap from scratch instead of just like buying a blank and slapping your logo on it. And so a few things that you'll notice. First of all, like very, very high quality embroidery on this cap, both on the front and on the back. The other thing, it's all about small little details. So they have the Milkman sticker on there, and then it even says like apparel by Spilt on the sticker. And so these small details really, really matter when you're building a lifestyle brand. And, again, like just super, super creative and fun. Like they have this little pin made with a skeleton, and then on the left-hand side, they have a jogger. But even again, like if you look at all the details, like there's the small little plastic tips on the drawstrings of the windbreaker. And, again, just super, super thoughtful. It's done in a yellow. It actually says Spilt on the little yellow pieces. And of course, they match the Diller logo. And if you look inside, there's a woven label in there. Again, this is another piece done by Spilt, just super thoughtful, woven labels sewn onto the shirt. And yeah, this is the type of kind of details you need to think about when building a lifestyle brand. Okay, so let's kind of get into the specifics of cap manufacturing and kind of what are the different caps. So there's tons and tons of caps available, but we're going to just kind of do a brief overview, and then we're going to do a factory tour of one of our cap factory partners. So this is a dad hat, and the dad hat is basically a hat where there's no buckram in the crown of the cap. And so it's kind of been popularized in American culture. It's kind of like the cap that, dads wear with the kind of dad bod, dad kind of anywhere from like 35 to like 50. This cap is associated with them. But obviously anyone can wear this type of cap. Coffee shops like love this type of cap, lifestyle brands. And it's generally made with 100% cotton, although you can pull it off with other materials. And usually it's a more minimalist type of hat. Like you won't see a lot of embroidery on it. But again, you're custom manufacturing it from scratch, which means you can choose any color, you can do any type of embroidery or embellishment on it. And the other great thing about caps is they have really good profit margins. So this cap can go from anywhere from $18 to $50. We've even had brands sell it for $70 to $80. So that's an example of a dad cap. The next type of cap is beanie. Beanies are actually done with totally different machines. Commonly, the kind of least expensive beanies are done in acrylic, but you can also go with more natural fibers. They're more expensive. You can do even alpaca, but you can do wool. Wool is probably the warmest and kind of thickest type of beanie. And usually, like the best thing to do with the beanie is you can embroider on it, but you can also weave in your design. So, for example, if you wanted to write spilt on it, you could basically weave it into the entire cap. And also, again, very high profit margins. They can go from anywhere from $12 to $60. The other great thing about beanies is they're like very practical, especially if you want to associate your brand with like winter sports or anything winter. Okay, the next is the trucker hat. These guys kind of go in and out of style. They're kind of known for being a more vintage type of product. Like when people think trucker hats, they think like 60s, 70s. Especially if you're trying to kind of build this like nostalgic type of vintage brand. It's a great cap for that. Again, you can see great profit margins for trucker caps. Generally, they're done with cotton and acrylic, but there's also like a foam version of it, which is kind of all acrylic. And then the next one, again, this is a cap that kind of goes in and out of style. This is kind of like the New Era kind of style cap. New Era is like very famous for making this cap. It's actually, and our partner does a really, really good job at this cap, but it's actually the most difficult cap to pull off. Because if it's not structured right and if it's made cheaply, it's really not going to fit well on your head. But you have to put like a really nice thick buck ram in there. And I would say that our partner who we're going to tour their factory soon, I think their cap is just as good as the famous New Era cap. This cap probably has the highest retail price point. And then another hat, this is like a very controversial hat because some people think they look ridiculous, and other people like swear by them. You'll see them a lot in luxury streetwear, but they're also kind of more practical for like outdoor leisure. They also are like really easy to ship. That is one kind of challenge, especially with that New Era cap that we just saw, is you really have to be thoughtful about how you ship it because it can kind of easily bend. This hat's a lot more flexible, easier to ship. But yeah, it kind of goes in and out of style at different times, usually made with cotton or like some type of cotton blend. All right, so let's kind of get into some more details on how you can accessorize your cap. So one kind of like easy way, very inexpensive, is the woven label. The woven label, I think, is like a must. And again, this is the advantage to really doing something custom instead of like just buying your standard blank. And what makes the woven labels so good is like they're really, really, really inexpensive. I mean, you could add woven labels sometimes for 30, 40 cents. Larger productions, even cheaper. But it really gives the person that's receiving the cap, whether it's as a promo product, merchandise, or whether they're buying it, it really makes them understand that you're building a brand and you're not just kind of just randomly selling a cap and throwing your logo on it. If you notice, all the spilt stuff has a woven label inside. I think it's like a really good hack to just convey to your audience that you're very thoughtful about the brand that you're building. And you can put them inside the cap and outside. Then there's obviously like patches that you can do on caps, and there's tons of different patches. You can do embroidered patches. The one in the middle is a synthetic leather patch, and you can do multiple patches on the cap. Again, the advantage of custom manufacturing from scratch is that you can put the patch anywhere you want. But there's tons of different patches you can do: PVC, Chanel. You can also even do woven patches like we saw in the previous slide. So great way to, again, differentiate your brand. The other thing is all over print or all over embroidery. Again, this is the advantage to custom manufacturing your cap. So when you're buying a blank, the problem is that when you buy a blank, you are basically there's only a certain amount of space that you can embroider on the cap. So you're only going to get a hit of embroidery like on the front and maybe on the side. But if you look at these caps, there's actually embroidery on the bill of the cap. And the only way you can do that, because the bill is too thick, and if it's a blank and you're putting it on a machine, then you just can't embroider it on the bill. And so what they're doing actually is they're taking flat material, they're printing on it or embroidering on it, and then sewing the cap. And again, you can only do this when you custom manufacture with a company like our partner that you'll see soon. And then there's other types of embroidery. You can get 3D embroidery like you see on the two caps on the right. There's glow-in-the-dark embroidery. There's just a lot of things you can do to have fun with the embroidery. Again, when you're custom manufacturing from scratch, you just have a lot more flexibility. Okay, and then one of my favorites is printing tape. So this kind of goes in the inside of the cap. Usually it's blank. Again, when you're manufacturing on a blank, you can't do this. And so basically you can have your logo either woven or printed inside of the cap. And again, it's just another way to tell your audience that you care about the cap. There's another one on the left. You'll see that you can also screen print or embroider it on the bottom of the bill. Hang tags are another great one. This is a must, obviously, if you're selling in a brick and mortar retail, but even if you're doing e-commerce, it's another way to kind of have fun with the brand. It's another way to just kind of tell a story. You know, I've seen some customers, they'll write like the story of the brand inside of there. So anyway, just another opportunity to tell your brand story. And then you can also do metal logos. So that's something that I've actually seen trending recently. It can be done either in metal or in plastic, but again, just another way to tell your story. So if you're doing something that's like a little bit more high end, this is a really, really good way to kind of elevate your headwear. And the other thing you can do is kind of like the closures. On the right, you'll see this is your typical Velcro closure. On the left, you have your plastic closure, but there's tons. There's buckle closures. There's plastic closures that you can have. But again, just another way to tell your brand stories. Also, leather is another option as well. And then there's other small details like the eyelets. If you see the eyelets match the cap on the two caps on the right. But if you want to, like we've seen some customers, you know, just have fun with it, and randomly the whole hat is blue, but the eyelets will be green or something like that. So again, this is the power of custom manufacturing your headwear. And as I said, those are also other options. Okay, so now we are going to meet Some Caps. They are one of our partners at the studio, and they're a manufacturer in China. They're really, really good manufacturers. We've worked with tons of cap manufacturers over the years, and I'd say they're one of the best cap manufacturers in the world. They work with a lot of famous brands, brands that you would all recognize. And that's the power of working with a brand like Suncaps. You can work with some of the same factory that very famous brands work with, and their MOQ is as low as 50 pieces. So let's dream. If you could dream and joy, if we could get started and introduce the cap factory.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. I am
Hi,
Dream
Dream.
I'm the sales manager of ICUMK Caps. I'm very excited very excited that you have come to this meeting to watch how our factory works. Hi.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much, Dream, for opening up your factory for everyone to see. We're super excited.
And
So-
on behalf
Yes, please, Joy.
of Dream, I would like to introduce at SU MK Caps, we transform your creative visions into premium hardware through meticulous craftsmanship and ethical manufacturing. Our mission is to bring your ideas to life and help turn your brand's dream into reality. Every stitch and fabric reflects our commitment to uncompromising quality, giving your customers the confidence they deserve. And we're not just here for a quick transaction. We believe in building long-term partnerships grounded in trust, authenticity, and shared success. Experience the reliability brands trust. Let's craft exceptional caps together. And now we would like to give you a tour to our workshop. And Rich, let's start.
Okay. Hey, Reach. Reach is going to give us a little tour around the factory. So, Joy, I'll let you and Reach walk everyone through the process.
All right, so we're gonna begin by stepping into the main production workshop. This is where all the actions takes place and where the raw material are transformed into finished products through a series of process and coordinated steps. And right now we're going to the very beginning of how everything started. Rich，我们直接去那个裁片的地方，不是裁片，就是模具。So this is just like the whole overview of the workshop. And there are like multiple steps, which we're gonna take you into each one. And then you can see how in each process, how it was made. And here you see a variety of cutting modes, each one designed for a specific part of the hat, such as the chrome panels, the brim, or the sweatband. And these modes ensure consistency in size and shape across every batch. And then these are all the fabrics. And our workers evenly spread out layers of fabric on large cotton tables. And the fabric must be perfectly flat and aligned before cutting to ensure precision and minimize waste. And now with the molds placed on top, we use this machine and the fabric is cut into a specific shape for each component of the hat. And once they are cut, these fabric pieces are sent to the panel staging area. This is how the machine works. All right, and now we're moving on to the next step. So this is the panel staging area. So all the pieces that were cut before were moved here and they're sewn together to form the crown, which is the upper part of the hat. And this is the foundational step that determines the hat structure and shape. And now we're moving on to the next step. And here we'll add the inside tape to reinforce the seams. And this step strengthens the crown and give it a clean, professional look. Well, it's also preventing the seams from fraying over time. All right, moving on to the next one. And this is the station that will stitch the cap insert into the hat, also known as a brim reinforcement. This inner structure helps the front of the cap maintain its shape, especially in styles like baseball caps or structured hats. And the insert is typically made of plastic or thick fabric, and it is carefully sewn between the layers of the crown, ensuring both firmness and comfort. And now moving on to the next one. At this stage, the hat starts to take its final shape. The sewn crown and the brim are turned inside out, and additional stitches are added to secure and shape the dome of the hat. And now you can see the basic form of the final finished product. And moving on, we're going to the installation of the sweatband. This is a key component that provides comfort, absorbs moisture, and helps the hat retain its fit. The sweatband is neatly sewn into the inside of the crown, completing the internal structure. And now we're going like the finally stop. The final station is in a different area. It's gonna take a little walk. And each hat is taken to this, we call it pressing station.
This is my favorite machine.
So this is where it is ironed using special equipment. It helps to remove wrinkles and shape the crown and give the hat a smooth, professional finish.
Yeah, I don't know why it gives me so much pleasure to watch that machine, but it does. Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much, Joy and Reach, for showing us how a cap is made. And you know, I the reason I started the studio is because I truly love going to factories and watching products get produced. The cool thing to me is like it starts off, as you guys saw, as like just basic material, and then it ends up becoming like this beautiful product. So yeah, it's every time I go to a factory or see a factory, I think it's just awesome because I think we're just so divorced today from the products that we use and wear, but it's really awesome to see the craftsmanship involved in creating a product like a cap. Um, yeah. So look, that started off as just basic material, and then it turned into that beautiful product.
All right, so that's the end of the tour.
Cool. Thank you very much, Reach, Joy, and Dream. So we have some questions. And so the first one, oh, and the other thing is, if you guys want to place an order with some caps, then they're giving a 5% discount. And you can just email us and we'll help you out with that. So we got some really good questions. One question is, how long does it take to create caps based on my design? So the entire process from start to finish takes anywhere from like 2 weeks if you need it crazy, crazy rush. Some caps probably not going to like that I gave you that secret, but they can do it crazy quick if you need it. You obviously have to pay more for it if it's crazy rush like that, but generally in about 4 weeks you can get the product. So from kind of start to finish, it's about 4 weeks. The next question is, do you think caps are the best product to start and expanding your lifestyle brand with? I think it definitely should be one of the first products for a number of reasons. So the first start is it's very inexpensive to manufacture, and it's you can get really high profit margins with it. So that's like one reason. The other thing is like it shows that your brand has more depth because like the logical things is kind of more like a t-shirt or kind of like some type of basically some type of apparel. Caps make it look more like an accessory, and and because it's an accessory, it just looks like it makes it look like your brand is larger. Honestly, it kind of just expands the reach of your brand. The other thing is it's also can be a very accessible product. Like you can sell caps for $20, $25. And if you actually look at the strategy of a lot of luxury brands, they actually get most of their profit from accessories. So they have like these very expensive pieces that, are not very obtainable for a lot of people, but then they have more accessible things like caps. So for all those reasons, I definitely think it should be one of your first products, if not the first product. The other thing is it's not that difficult to design. Another great question is how do you ensure the quality of the cap? So first of all, some caps is an excellent manufacturer. They're a world-class manufacturer, and they really have excellent quality. So we wouldn't onboard a factory that we don't think has excellent quality. So that's kind of one piece of it. The other thing is at the end of your production, they'll do a video of your product so you can look at it. Well, actually, let me take a step backwards. So the first thing that you should do is you should get a sample, especially if it's your first time working with the factory. You get a sample, they can manufacture the sample for you and ship it to you. That way you can touch it, feel it, and kind of really make sure that you're happy with the quality. Once you do that, then you're basically telling the factory that you're good with the product that they produce for you, and that you just basically want to go ahead with the manufacturing, and they're just going to basically match the exact sample that you got. And then once your bulk production is done, they can send you a video of the production so you can visually inspect it. You can also do a live quality control inspection with the factory. And lastly, if you really want to ensure the quality of the cap, and especially if it's a larger order, you can actually pay to send a third-party quality control to the factory. Again, these guys have been doing cap production for years. They work with some of the best brands, so you really are getting a high-quality product with it. The next question, what fabric materials can you use? If I wanted to make a cap that had custom fabric print, what type of fabric would I print on? Is this something you print in China, or is it something I would have print and ship? Is there some sort of repeat pattern template you can provide, or can I send the fabric printed and cut? So great question, and I love how you're kind of thinking about differentiating your brand. Again, this is the important thing when you're building a lifestyle brand, is just being very thoughtful about everything. So the way you would do a custom fabric print is there's kind of a few ways you would do it. So one is you could just screen print onto the fabric and then sew it. That will give you a certain type of look, and that is also very good if you're doing kind of low MOQs. So if you want your own custom fabric, I think that you have to produce at least 500 pieces, like if you actually want your own pattern in the fabric. But one way to get around that, if you don't want to do 500 pieces, is you could just screen print on the fabric. It gives a slightly different feel, but it's still super cool. And you can do like an all-over print on the fabric and then sew the cap together. So it's definitely possible, and your manufacturing partner will work with you on that. So thank you so much for the really awesome tour. We love the hats we designed with you. The inside custom taping really elevated them. Although we are small, it was great to find someone willing to work with us that cared as much about quality. Awesome. Thank you very much for that comment, Larissa. Yeah, we only partner with the best factories in the world, and we really, really believe in finding, expert manufacturers that are true craftsmen at what they do. Okay, I have access to a printer. I just need to know what kind of fabric to print on: cotton, nylon. For a cap, I would recommend printing on cotton. It depends, I guess. Like if you're doing more of like a sporty type of cap, nylon could work. But if you're doing a more traditional type of cap, then you're going to want cotton. So yeah, a more synthetic material like nylon would work for a sports type cap. But yeah, it's definitely something that some caps can help you out with, and kind of share different options with you as you think about making your cap. Cool. Any other questions? Those were all great questions. All right, good. I had a lot of fun doing this, and at the studio, we're trying to help people go from idea to iconic. Thank you very much for taking the time to join this webinar. This is our first one. We're going to continue doing this series. And the idea is to really help inspire people to create the best kind of merchandise or products they can for their brand. And we want to go really, really deep, where we're teaching you about the different manufacturing processes, the different type of materials. We think there's just not enough information out there about manufacturing, and we kind of want to be that source. As you can see, we're super passionate about manufacturing at the studio. We had one last question. Do we use any other hat factories? We do, actually. So we have some caps. We also do our own cap manufacturing. And then we have another partner that does cap manufacturing in France. And they also have a factory in Bangladesh too. So they're an interesting option because if you're looking for like a made in France cap, obviously the price points are higher. But if you're really trying to build a luxury brand, having that like made in France is a really, really kind of interesting twist on headwear. And they're also willing to do very low MOQs, as low as 25 pieces. So, any last questions? So, to recap, it's important to build a thoughtful lifestyle brand. Check out Spilt's video. It's super cool. I actually see a world where one day they're going to build a $1 billion brand. So, would love to just kind of continue to watch them and grow with them. They're a partner at the studio. They've been working with us for years. And yeah, some caps is going to give you a 5% discount if you want to manufacture with them. Thank you everyone for your time.